It's time for you to get serious. What is it? What is it, the direction? Like, what direction is your business going? Like, your company, where are you taking things? Like, are you really taking stock of what you're trying to build, where you're trying to go, and are you willing to do whatever it takes? See, because that's what it comes down to, is whatever it takes. I've talked about it before, and so many others have talked about it, about, you know, time management, efficiency, productivity, you know, just the idea of, are you working smart or are you working hard? Working hard is never going to amount to as much as working smart. But I want you to take that for what it is. It doesn't mean not to work hard. You've got to be willing to put yourself into your business. There's this idea of like a restaurant. You launch a business, you open a new restaurant, and when you open the doors to your new restaurant, you know, you could spend 80 hours a week easy at your new restaurant, at least for the first few months, right? While you're trying to get it off the ground, while you're really trying to be there from long before it opens till well after it closes, making sure that everything logistically is taken care of. Everything's falling into place. All the staff members are getting everything they need. They're getting everything handled. They're handling the customers efficiently. They're taking care of, you know, watching product, watching cost, watching everything, watching their time, making sure that they're on the clock when they need to be, they're off the clock when they need to be, making sure that you're managing all of these different things. And it's hard. It's definitely hard. And like I said, I use a restaurant as an example because a restaurant's something that's everybody understands. Everybody's been to a restaurant before, and everybody, you know that, hey, you know, you go into your favorite little restaurant and, you know, you go there you go there every other week or something, right? And you know that that manager or that server or the cook, you know that they work certain shifts. You know that they get off at a certain time. And you know if this restaurant's been around for a hot minute, it's not likely that that owner is going to be around too often. It's going to be around occasionally, right? If it's a locally owned restaurant, the owner, it's like a single family owned restaurant, that owner may be there, but that owner's not going to be there every day. The owner's not going to be there all day long. Why? Because the company, the restaurant is already viable. You know, it's being productive. It's making revenue. It's generating revenue. It's generating profits. It's a sustainable business. But were you at a restaurant when it first launched? Were you ever at a restaurant or a business that just opened? And I'm not saying a new branch of a chain. Like if you happen to be in this city and, oh man, this city, like where Kimberly grew up, she remembers when they opened the Dairy Queen in her town, you know? I remember when certain restaurants had opened or certain restaurants closed down, but they were part of a bigger company, right? How often have you been there when a restaurant opened for the first time? It's the very first one. I watched my grandma. She opened it was a pool hall and a club for like teenagers, right? It opened after school and it was open on the weekends. Then my uncle opened a nightclub on the back end of the building. So there was like an entrance from the other side that you could go into the nightclub, and it was only open at the end of the week and through the weekend, and it was only open late night, right? Seeing a business open is an incredible thing. It's really cool to see it take shape, right? Because there's all these investments in these different staff, product, you know, some equipment, right? You've got to have everything that you need to make the company work. In our modern society, people try so hard, because especially after COVID, right? After the pandemic, a lot more and more people didn't want to go back to work. They're like, I've been at home for all this time. How could I make this the way I continue to live? It changed their mentality. It changed their perspective on things. Some people got frustrated with being at home, but some people resisted the urge to go back. because they didn't want to. They wanted to spend more of that time home with their family. So how do you get to that place? So the way that a lot of people have adapted to getting to that place is, well, what could I do? What could I do from a distance? What business can I start, launch, invest into where it's not going to take me away from my family so much, because it's going to be something that's sustainable over here. And either I can be a part facilitating this business from, my home, or I'm going to be doing something online. I got a guy in a Bible study with that in a men's Bible study with me here in Bend, and he's a teacher. He's actually a teacher. We're in Oregon, and he's a teacher at a high school in Washington. But all the classes he teaches are online. And he said it's an interesting dynamic for him because at least 3 times a year, there's like standardized testing and there's certain other things that happen. But there's like 3 times a year where he has to be at the school. And so he has to like fly up there for a whole week and just be there for the week. Because trying to go back and forth, it's like an 8-hour drive or something like that. So he either has to fly or drive. Anyways, there's different jobs like this that more people have worked on. I got a buddy who is a personal trainer, and he would do these home visits. He would go to people's houses and build a workout routine based on, okay, what is it that you're trying to do? Like, he would tailor it to you. What is it you're trying to do? Let me get all your measurements. Let me get your weight. Let me get your age. Let me get all these different things. And he would make a whole plan. Like, hey, this is the dietary things that I want you to try to implement. These are the things I want you to cut back on. And these are the exercises I want you to start with and build to. And they would have like he would either do, some clients he had that he met twice a week. Some he only met every other week. And he said some he would meet, he would meet every couple of weeks, and he would just tell them, hey, it's like, look, this is your plan. You've got equipment in your house. This is what you do. As long as you stick to this and do this many times a week, then, we're good to go. And I'll meet up with you. And as we meet up, we'll tailor your regimen as you continue to strengthen, you continue to lose weight, you tend to get more lean, growth, whatever it is you're working towards. He would adjust accordingly as time went on. Then during, he did home visits, he did meetups at the gym, and he had his own small personal gym at his house so people could come to his place. And he just he bent a lot based on his client, trying to meet their needs, which was incredible. Such a great guy. He's really, really great. Rafael Ortiz. You can look him up on Instagram or Facebook. Rafael Ortiz. But anyways, throughout the pandemic, he started trying to do online because he was like, I can't go to people's houses, can't have people come to my houses. And since then, he's even come up with new things. I watched Jim Jones. Jim Jones, I don't know if you know him, but a lot of people, he's big in hip hop and rap, and some people know him from Love and Hip Hop. He was on the very, very, very first season. But anyways, Jim Jones, he's a great producer, but something that I've always loved about him is he's got an incredibly entrepreneurial mentality, right? He just loves to try to find the next business that he can be in and the next business that he can grow and develop. And throughout the pandemic, he came up with different things. Like, he was trying to get into shape. And while he was trying to get into shape, he was like, how can I get into shape? Well, he was in New York, and he's like, I'm on lockdown. I can't even leave my house. So he was coming up with things. He used to go to a gym, but he didn't have a gym anymore because he couldn't go out of his house. So he started coming up with things around his house that he could turn into, well, I can turn this into, exercise, and I can make this into, like, he just came up with, he made all these little videos on Instagram and things like that. And it was really great. But anyways, he slowly just transitioned into more different things. And then he came up with, what was it? He came up with this online studio, Quarantine Studios he came up with. And Quarantine Studios is still a thing. It grew out of a need during the pandemic where he was like, how am I going to reach out to other music creators and other, other artists that people want to sample and feature and things like that? How are we going to do that if we're all stuck? So he bought and purchased and ordered all kinds of equipment, some of which he already had, but he acquired the things he didn't have. And he was like, I'm going to do all these different things, and we'll call it Quarantine Studios, and we're going to record music from a distance, right? So he started saying, artists that you had never even met, never even seen. He was like, you know what? You upload your music here. You seek out one of the artists that are on the platform and see if you can, partner to make more music, right? And they can you can feature somebody that you never met. Before this, lots of artists, featured artists they hadn't met. It happens all the time. And it's an interesting thing because a lot of people who don't understand the music industry don't realize that that's really pretty commonplace. But the weird thing about it is before quarantine or before the pandemic, it always had to be you had to be someone who was in the know, right? So you had to be someone with some kind of connections. And you had to reach out to your agent. You had to have an agent. And your agent had to reach out to their agent. And then their agent had to reach out to them. And it had to be, there was this whole chain of custody of music, so to speak, right? And Jim Jones changed that. He was like, why can't we just get on here and say, hey, these artists can set up a profile on this platform, and then I could reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to feature you on this track. Can you be on this track with me? And, it was a much more fluid process, right? It was a cool thing. Lots of people have decided to take up all different kinds of things. Now, the problem is a lot of people came up with all these different things that they could do from home or online or tailor it to their schedules. People got into real estate. People got into oh, well, maybe I could take classes and become a realtor, right? And then I could set my schedule around my family. It takes a little more than that, but that's an idea that people came up with. People got really into, well, if I had the money, I could invest in a house and it could be an Airbnb and it would essentially pay itself off and all this different stuff. People don't realize the work that an Airbnb takes, right? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, a lot of upkeep. You got to manage, make sure that, you're keeping email, communication, questions answered. That's just logistical, clerical work, right? Then you're talking about, just the manual labor of making sure the house is upkept, making sure the house is cleaned after everyone comes in. So basically, what you need is you need to either manage it yourself or you need to have extra capital in order to hire a property manager. Man, it gets real expensive to hire a property manager, but you know what? It'll be way more costly if you don't have someone managing the property, and then you get bad reviews, and then it kills your business. So there's all these different kinds of businesses and people started thinking, well, what if I did content creation? Content creation seems like, okay, well, I have a smartphone. If I have a smartphone, I can just record and I can just upload and I can just, some people thought, well, I can get into art and I can sell on Etsy. And it's like, the thing is everybody thinks they can do something, right? And the truth is everybody can. You absolutely can do something. You can totally do lots of things. So you can be an artist. You can create music. Look at someone like, whether you're a fan or not, you can't argue that they're not successful. Look at someone like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, for those of you who didn't know, actually started out on MySpace music. They literally, back when MySpace was a thing, yeah, for you youngsters, there was this thing called MySpace, back before Facebook. And it had an entire artist section. It had a music section. It was called MySpace Music, where you could literally go in there and there was a program where you could record your music right into MySpace. It was actually pretty cool, especially for someone like Gaga or Katy Perry, because these are two people who ultimately were trying to make music, wanted to make music, and couldn't get their music heard by anyone. And it was only MySpace that changed it for them, because they started recording into MySpace, and then they got all these followers and all these fans. Justin Bieber was discovered at incredibly young age, like 9 or 7, or I don't remember exactly, but he got discovered incredibly young from just singing into a hairbrush in his bathroom on YouTube. And then people like Usher and Ludacris saw him and was like, I gotta get this kid. This kid's gonna be somebody. You can absolutely take all these many different social platforms, all these different social media things and these programs, these apps, and you can absolutely turn it into a business. You can. But what most people miss is how much work that you got to put in. It's not something that just, okay, it's just poof and it's done. Now, when those things happen, not saying they haven't happened, plenty of people just fluke right into business, right? I don't even know if plenty was the right word, but there are some. But those people, it's exactly what I just said, fluke. It's not the commonplace. It's not the norm. It's not the way you're really going to get it done. If you're really going to get it done, you've got to put in the work. You've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to give yourself to it. Me and the boys spend so much time. I mean, we'll post on our other channel, the Bayless Boys channel, we'll post a handful of videos every week. But that handful of videos, if you only knew how much work went into those videos, I mean, it's just kind of us sharing our life. So we're absolutely enjoying ourselves. We're just out there having fun, having adventures, seeing the world, doing cool things together. And I just catch little clips of the adventure here and there. I don't catch it all. Nobody wants to see all of it. I've learned that. Making too long of videos, nobody wants to watch it. Making too short of videos, nobody's interested. See, that's the things that you got to learn over time too. You got to be willing to put in the work to learn what you're building, what you're developing. Being a content creator, there's a lot of intricate details to make yourself actually successful at it, because everybody thinks they can do it. I've learned a lot, but I'm still learning today. As an investor, I've been investing for several years now. I'm really, really good at it, but every day I'm learning more. Every day I'm getting better. I never stop learning. I never stop trying. I never stop working on growth. My partner, who's a swing trader and an avid investor, he's been trading for 20 years. He's also been in lending. He's also been in real estate. Went to McCombs Business School, and not a day goes by that he doesn't read more and learn more. And me and him consult each other. I mean, he is my partner, but on a daily basis, we're consulting each other. It's like, hey, I heard this, I saw this, you know, I saw this article about this, what's happening with this currency or that currency. I saw this, what's happening in the market. I saw this, and it says this about the economics in this country or that country. Is this going to affect our business? How do you think it's going to change things? What direction do you think we should apply this in? Or is this something we should just brush off because it really doesn't have, either it doesn't have merit or it just doesn't really affect us? So it's like, it's a constant thing. We never stop learning, we never stop growing, we never stop working on it together. And see, that's something that you've got to understand, is no matter what it is that you're going to do, it's a constant effort. It's giving your entire self to it. You've got to be willing to do that. And that's where most people fall short. It's not an inability to grow a business. It's not an inability to build a business. It's not even a lack of knowledge, because there's always somebody you can ask. We're in a modern society where, first of all, everybody thinks they know something. So there's an abundance of people you can ask, but everybody's trying to sell what they know. So everybody's trying to sell what they know, and they're doing it on social media. They're doing it on, you know, different websites. Everybody knows how to build a website now. And if you don't know how to build a website, or you don't want to, it's so simple and so cheap and affordable to hire someone and say, hey, will you build this website for me? People are on Instagram and Facebook every day and Twitter talking about, I'll build your website for you. This is X amount of dollars. You know, it's amazing the time and the era that we're in. That truly, 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 if ever there was a time where anything is possible, we're in it, man. We're living it. We're going through it right now. And there's nothing that you can't do if you're willing to put in the work. Like I said, you can have money, you can have time, you can have a great idea, you can have a friend who's great at marketing, you can have another buddy who's good at, you know, developing. You can have all these different things and all the key elements to making a successful business. You could even know all the right people to ask and say, hey, this is that thing I don't know, but you know how to do it. And will you enlighten me of how I could get this going? You could have all those key aspects. And if you're still not willing to put in the work, it's not going to make a bit of difference. It's just not. There's this idea, and it permeates throughout social media constantly. And it comes from bitterness. It comes from people who are frustrated because they don't have, and they're mad at those who do. Or it comes from people who are unambitious and they're frustrated at people who are ambitious. Because some people just have this idea, well, I just wish things were better for me, but I just really don't want to go fight for it. Why does it have to just be like this? And so there's this idea that it's like, some people are just lucky. Some people are just lucky, or they just inherited this, or they inherited that. And that's rarely the case. I don't care how lucky you are, or how much has been given to you or provided for you, or how many amazing, great, wonderful, brilliant, super awesome people that you know that are willing to give everything they've got to your business to helping you get off the ground. If you yourself aren't willing to fight for it and willing to put in that work, it's not going to matter. You've got to believe. You've got to believe. And you've got to care. I mean, you've got to care. That's what it comes down to. Do you care about your business? Is there a reason that you're doing this? Are you willing to give all you've got? Are you willing to fight tooth and nail, like to the very end? Like, I'm going to make this happen. And if you're willing to fight for it, man, like I said, you can always find people to help. You can always ask questions. Plenty of knowledgeable people. Sometimes it costs money. It costs money for services, it costs money for knowledge, it costs money for help. But that being willing to put in the work, oh, that's just priceless. It's invaluable. Most people aren't willing to do that. And that's okay. I've known some people personally who are like, they think it's cool that I work for myself, but they're like, you know, that'd be really sweet if I could set my own hours and if I could do this and do that. But, you know, I really just like going to work at 9, getting off at 4, knowing that every Friday I got a paycheck. I'm off every Sunday, work every other Saturday. It's pretty sweet. They like that. They like that stability. They like that assurance that their check is coming and that they don't have to think about all that crazy stuff. They're like, I'm good at this. I know how to do this. If you can pay me to do that, that's what I want to do. Some people, I had a buddy who was just, oh man, he had several investments and stuff, but he managed it was a small shop. It was like a tune and lube shop, but they did some bigger jobs. And he always got excited when people came in with like older kind of cars and they wanted bigger jobs done. That's when he got really excited because his favorite thing was cars. He had like this one old beat up car that was out back in this little truck that wasn't nothing special, but it was special to him. But the car and the truck were out back and he would work on them whenever he could, between jobs, on off days, whatever. But he would work on those, and that was his passion. Like I said, he had investments in little different things. My buddy Kerry back in Austin, and like I said, he had investments in different things and stuff, and he was always excited, you know, to check on how his investments were doing and growing and stuff. But to him, that was like his retirement. That was his future. That was his hobby. Oddly enough, that was his hobby, but cars was his bread and butter. He loved just working on cars. And he loved talking to people about cars. It was super cool because he'd have people come in for just an oil change and he would do like a full diagnostics and stuff and say, oh yeah, well you should, you know, these are the list of the things that you haven't done in a while. And these are the list of things that, some people recommend, but you don't need it for a while. You're good. Like he just loved knowing cars. He loved talking cars. He loved really just, and he'd have a conversation with you. If you had any questions, man, I used to see him get so excited because I'd come up there and I'd have work done on my car from time to time. And I had brakes done, oil changes, you know, nothing crazy. But when I'd ever have anything done, I remember liking to take it over there to him. And I remember how he used to go, he would get so excited. And I loved just hanging out in the shop with him they had a little lobby area. And I loved hanging out with him. Me and him would talk about investments and stuff. But not just that, I loved how excited he would get when somebody would come in there and they didn't know about cars. Especially if it was a younger lady or an older lady. I don't know why, but particularly like an older lady or a younger lady would come in. If they were real young and they'd come in, they're like, yeah, my car was clicking and this and that. And you just see his face glow. He'd just be like, okay, so you have this year and this model. Typically, they start clicking and he would get so excited. It would just make him so happy. Like I said, and it was something about the really young girls that were just like, oh, well, because they're a young girl, you know, they haven't had a lot of experience with cars maybe. Or if it was an older lady, he was always so kind and so respectful, but it just particularly got him excited when it was really young people or the elderly that would come in. He was just like, and they would act like they didn't understand what was going on. Not act, legitimately didn't understand. But he always just he would get so excited to break it down and talk about all the details. You've got to care about what you do. You got to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, then what are you doing? There's plenty of jobs out there that are just paychecks. And if you just want a job that's just a paycheck, like I said, my boy Kerry loved what he did. Absolutely loved what he did. He didn't want to be the owner. He liked investing and that was his future, but he never wanted to own a shop or anything. He wanted to own cars. He didn't want the headache of being the guy that was responsible for all the overhead and all that stuff. He didn't want that. And that may be you. That may be you. But if it's not you, and I assume a lot of you, it's, you know, if you're watching my channel and you're wanting to grow your business, you're wanting to build something for your family or yourself, like I said, you gotta believe in what you're doing. And you gotta be willing to give everything you got to it. That's it. Everything you've got. Everything you've got. Fight for it. All right, I want y'all to marinate on that. Just take that with you. Marinate on that for a bit and really give yourself, you know, the time to think about, you know, what you want your business to be, how you want it to grow, what your overall goal is for not just the business, but for your personal life, like how you want this business to affect your personal life. Because in the beginning, it's going to consume you. It's going to take everything you've got for countless hours, countless days. There'll be days where you sleep, where you live, breathe, eat, sleep, your job, your business, your company. And then one day, all that fight's going to be worth it. And then you'll get to step away a little bit and be like, all right, I built you, now run, you know? But it takes time to get there. So if you haven't started a business, give it thought. If you've already started one, the sooner you take that time to really think about it, the better. Let's make sure we're on the right path. Let's not waste your time. Let's not waste your money. Let's not waste your efforts. Make sure that everything that you're putting into this, it counts. All right. I got lots of respect and love for all of y'all. I appreciate all y'all tuning in. Yeah, I appreciate more and more lately. I've gotten more comments. If there's anything y'all want me to discuss, be sure to leave your comments below. Let's open up some dialogue and let's help each other out, lift each other up, and get to a better place. It's all about love and respect, baby. You feel me? All right. Till next time, y'all be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding your bell, get your notifications. It's your boy, Corey B. Let's get cocky, man, and let's have a most excellent